Okay, let me check the volume. 1 second. Turn this back on. Here we go. Let's see, we're back on. Okay. Here we go. Let's see, we're back on. Okay, so today we have a deal. Let's pull up the deal details. Let's see if this can show up. Okay, so today all right, we're caught up. Sounds good. So we have a deal in Kingwood, Texas, outside of Houston. And today we're going to analyze the subject to deal. Subject to simply means that when you are buying the property, you are taking over the payments, not assuming, but taking over the payments for the existing loan that's in place. And you will still have control of the property on the deed. So today we're going to look at this price, 4426 Echo Falls Drive, Kingwood, Texas, 77345. Purchase price, 309,411. Mortgage balance, well, that's what's left on the mortgage, $298,039. Entry fee, $24,772. EMD is $5,000. The PITI is $2,700 a month plus a $32 monthly HOA fee. The underlying loan is at 6.25, so not that attractive, but that's okay. And it's 2508. So first thing I'm gonna do is go and look at the street view really quick to see what kind of neighborhood I'm in. If there's an HOA, it looks like just one of those subdivision communities. Is that a gate right there? Yeah, it looks like a pretty suburban area. Nothing crazy out of the ordinary. I'm good with that. Let me look at the photos. Flooring looks great. House looks like it's in great condition. Okay, looks like someone locked up because they virtually staged it there. See that? They're virtually staging it. I wonder who has this property. Yeah, kitchen looks great. 0 renovations needed. You might not even need to paint anything, but we could probably put aside some money. But yeah, there's almost like 0 renovations needed. Okay, cool. So, are there any other amenities? No, nothing. It's complete off market. All right. So, the next thing we want to do is I go and check for the crime score. And when I go to crime score, I go to a website called tophap.com, TOPHAP.com. Now, this is in Harris County. If you go down here and you click on the neighborhood section on the left-hand side, for those of you that can't see it, you can go to youtube.com/@Kent_HE, and you can see that the crime index score is 33. National average 100, and the lower you are, the safer you are. So 33 is fantastic. That's very, very low crime. And that probably makes sense because let's see where we are on the map. We are really far out of the downtown area of Houston. Okay. Well, good to know. It's in the flood zone. Okay, not in the flood zone. All right. So that's good to know just because sometimes Houston's a little bit more flat. So 0 or lower risk of a flood. The next thing you want to do is you want to go look at HUD FMR. And when you go to HUD FMR, you want to be able to figure out what state, what county are the fair market rents. That's what FMR stand for. And once you go to smaller FMRs, you can go select the state, you can go select the county, and from that point onwards, you can type in the zip code, which is 77345 for the zip code, just confirming, correct. And now you're going to get the ceiling rents, the fair market rent by bedroom count by zip code. You can see that the 3-bedroom is $2,550 and the ceiling rent is $3,280. Wow, $3,280. That's pretty high. Okay, $3,280. All right. The next one we want to do is we want to go get the market rents. When you get the market rents, you can go to affordablehousing.com, go to the owner section, go to the market rent estimator. Then you'll be able to plug in the address here and your bedroom count. If you click in 3 bedrooms is going to give you 4 different numbers. And on these 4 numbers, it will tell you on the far right, on average, for 24 units within a 0.46 mile radius, those 3-bedroom homes are renting out for 1992. And when we have a 4-bedroom, those properties are renting out for 2369. So that's going to be important, right? Because if you underwrote with just the FMR, you would have thought, hey, I can get 3280 for rent. But when you go to the housing authority and you request a rent of 3280, they will probably reject your rent request for 3280 and instead say you are not allowed to charge a rent above what market rent is, and in this scenario is 2369, simply because the tenant is a voucher holder for the obvious reasons. So if you only underwrote using 3280, you would be wrong and overestimating your assumptions, which might lead you to lose money. So don't do that. Or better yet, if you're smart, you could call the county, the housing authority, and ask them, hey, I see that the market rent is 2369. In what cases would you allow a rent to be higher than the 2369? Now, if you are in the HO community where there is a pool, where there's basketball, where there's gyms, I don't know. Maybe the housing authority does take into consideration those amenities to see whether or not you are deserving of a higher rent. That is not guaranteed, but that is a reason why you might want to call your housing authority to get a better sense of whether or not this might be a deal. Now, the whole point of this underwrite exercise is so that we can determine whether or not this is worth a while of a deal for us to pursue, either by spending the time to call the housing authority to get more information, or to send a contractor out there to get a bid for some kind of quotes. Because if you have a good contractor, chances are they're going to be busy. So you really don't want to waste their time, because you're going to sound like the out of state investor that doesn't really know what they do and they're just kicking the tires, and that's going to lower your reputation and your status in some of these contractors' minds. So just be a little careful on that one. And let me just double check to see if there are any comments. Hey, Brandon. Hey, you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you guys. Let's keep going. So I'm going to switch screens now because we got all the deal details there. I brought it back up one more time just in case, but I am going to stop sharing and then share the Excel afterwards. I'm traveling this week with an older laptop, so I'm not able to share the entire screen for some reason. So again, if you want the whole screen version, please go to youtube.com/@Kent_HG. Okay. So we have the deal at purchase price using 309,411. Okay. At 309,411, I'm also going to plug in the mortgage balance of 298,039 over here in my loan. Okay. Now, from that point onwards, let me see if I can zoom out just so people can see a little bit more details on Instagram. At 298,039, I have to figure out what is my cash to seller. In order to determine the cash to seller, I'm going to take the purchase price, 309,411, minus the $298,000 at 6.25%, and that gives me the cash to seller at 11,372. Now, if you remember from the deal details beforehand, we saw that the entry fee was $24,772. So that means my assignment fee is going to equals 24,772 minus the cash to seller. Okay, just so we recap, we had the purchase price, right? Sometimes you get different pieces of the puzzle and you got to put the puzzle together. We got the asking price of 309. We got the subto loan of 298. So the cash to seller is the difference between the asking price and the underlying mortgage loan balance. But because they're also including a entry fee of $24,000, that means the rest of it is likely either arrears or assignment fee to the wholesaler. And that's why we took 24,772, which was disclosed by the wholesaler, and we're subtracting this just so we can get some accurate prices. Okay, we still have 2% for closing costs, and we're going to go through and type in the rents really quick before we get into renovations. Okay, now our PITI, if you remember from the prior page, was 2,700. Okay, so in order for me to back into my property taxes, I'm going to equals 2,700 minus the principal minus the interest. That gives me 864.92. I'm going to add another $30 for insurance because typically a insurance policy for a primary residence home is lower than an investment property. The investment property's insurance premium is typically higher because insurance companies view it as a higher risk property because you're renting out to other tenants. So I always add another $30. So that adds up to like 360 a year. So just to be a little bit safe and be a little bit more conservative, I don't expect it to be exactly the same. So I don't want to be off on my numbers by too much. Okay. Now for my rents today, I'm gonna underwrite this deal at 2369 and one of them at 3280. Just for scenario purpose. So my first one is going to be 2369 on my monthly income rents. 2369. All right. And then we are going to have a 10% maintenance. We're going to have 8% property management expenses and 3% for vacancy. I always underwrite the deal with property management because some folks just think with their cash flow, and you can see people posted deals all the time where they are taking the monthly rent and subtracting PITI without any regards for any other expenses, which is absolutely not true, right? Eventually, something in your house gets replaced. Your HVAC, your electric panels, your water heater, your roof, everything needs to get replaced at some point. So that is why it's so important to set aside maintenance, which we use 10% of the monthly rent every single month, to set aside in anticipation that something will eventually break. If once you get enough of health reserves up there, maybe you might decide to like lower that amount, but I think it's a little risky to not include it. Okay. So right now, oh, this is definitely not a deal because you can see that it's like negative 890. So we're going to go through the renovations and I'm only going to put in money to paint the place because it doesn't look like it's a deal. So I'm just going to assume I just need to repaint the entire house because if you looked at the prior photos of the property, it looked like it was in pretty good shape. So if I just assumed that I got to repaint or touch up the paint for the entire house, it was 2508. Okay. I'm only going to set aside $3 a square foot to paint the entire house, even if it needs that. So technically the rehab could be shorter or lower, but that's not the case here. So roof repair, I'm not even setting aside anything here for $1,500 because I think my painting budget should more than cover what it's needed. And for those of you that want a copy of the calculator, please DM me on Instagram at investwithkenhe. Send me your personal email and I will send this calculator to you. I've been very fortunate to have been given these calculator by other folks, and I've been able to modify it with some rental assumptions and rehab assumptions based on some of the rehabs that I have done personally in Scottsdale and in Alabama. So every market is different, but it gives you some semblance of what kind of work might be able to take place. All right. So right now at 2369, this is now a negative $890. Why is that? Because if your rent is 2369, but your PITI is 2700, that is not good at all. Negative 890. So that's a negative cash and cash return of 26%. That was assuming a purchase price of 309 411. The problem with this deal is really because this interest rate was way too high. Now, unless you are able to call the housing authority and say, hey, what can I get for my rents? And they say, hey, this is how you can achieve fuller rents. You might be in a higher area. At 3280, which is the best case scenario, supposedly, you're still negative $170 cash and cash return and negative 5.13%. So to me, that is not a deal. And that changing any of the other numbers, typically what we have been doing for the last couple of days is sometimes we might update the rehab numbers and we say, hey, what if we overestimate the rehab? What might make it a deal? What if we gave a lower down payment? In this scenario, because this property was purchased so soon, so just earlier this year, the seller likely has very low equity, which means this is the only reason why the seller is walking away from the deal, subject to, because otherwise they might have probably paid or lost most of their money from the commission check to realtors, etc., when they sold it any other way. So for them, this was probably the only way to actually sell the property. But in this case, it's still not a deal. Could you wrap it? Wrapping is when you do you do like a mirror wrap and someone buys a property, but then they pay you a higher interest rate, which essentially means that you're seller financing the property back at a higher interest rate with a higher down payment so you can get back all the capital. Could you do that? Yes, but that is not my business, and that's probably something for you guys to look into if you guys do want to learn more about wraps. I am in the subto creative finance community, so that's how I know about wraps and I know about creative finance, but that's not my primary exit strategy. So if any of you guys ever want to talk to me about my experience with subto, please just DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to kind of tell you about it. All right, 6.25%. This is just not a deal. When your PITI is so high, and after you put in some expenses at 10% for maintenance, 8% for property management, it's not a deal. So now some folks might try to make it a deal by turning the property management number into zero. I personally won't do that because why do we get into real estate? We want to get into real estate for financial freedom, freedom of time, more time to spend with our family. And if you think about it, if you're constantly on vacation, you're constantly taking calls from your guests or your tenants, or you're afraid the toilet might clog one day, well, eventually you want to walk away from it. So if you don't underwrite with property management in place today, you will never be able to exit your property as the property manager. So you would have essentially bought yourself a job. And that might not be the best idea, especially if you don't know landlord tenant laws. So just be careful on that, guys. Hopefully everybody can think through their deals and why might they invest in deal. So I have nothing to sell you. All I do here is I show you guys the unsexy side of real estate, where our daily habits determine our success. And the reason I go live every single day underwriting a deal is to help you guys build that daily habit. I'll give a shout out to Robert Vivas. He's been doing it for almost a month now with me. He's been going live using the same calculator, using the same properties, and using his own properties now that he's kind of venturing out. And he's been practicing and putting in the work. So all of you real estate investors out there that want to build good habits and analyze deals, do it alongside with me, because some of the biggest excuses I hear is that, hey, I don't have money to do this real estate thing. Well, and this is not a solicitation for investments. This is purely for information and entertainment purposes only. You can put all your analysis on your own YouTube channel so that when another investor comes by and asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, you can say, hey, look at my YouTube channel. You can look at the past 100 days of where I've gone live and I recorded myself analyzing deals and I got better and better. And boom, 18 minutes a day is all you need to have enough experience over a year to be better than 95% of the world. So if you underwrite a deal every single day with me for the next year, you will learn how to analyze deals better than 95% of the world. So let's do it together, guys. I'm so thankful that all of you are watching this. I'm so blessed that you guys all care about affordable housing. Thank you so much, because without people like you guys, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So the 100 deals, how many has been deal? I've had two deals, two deals. So you can look at a YouTube channel, you can figure out, and I think I wrote one of the deals where I went through a deal that I actually did. So put in the practice, put in the reps, and you guys will find the deals. And if a deal came across your table and slapped you across the face, you will recognize it right away. So have an amazing day, everybody. Have an amazing Saturday. Tomorrow I'm flying, so I'm going to do my live really early tomorrow because I'm going to be on a plane later. But we have no excuses, right? We're going to stay consistent together. So please tag me in any of your stories as you record yourself going live. I will reshare that onto my Instagram and I will help promote your page, because I remember how hard it was to grow a following in the very beginning. And I promised myself, if anybody ever asked me to promote their page, or if anybody ever asked me to be on their podcast, I will absolutely do it, because I remember how hard it was to get started and I almost quit. And I'm so glad to not quit. So please do it with me, and I will gladly share your profiles and everything with everybody else. So thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing day and have an amazing Saturday. Hope you guys spend some quality time with friend. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for any of you guys that want the calculator, just DM me your personal email at investwithkenhe. And if you guys want, please leave a review on Spotify. We have a podcast called Affordable Housing Real Estate Investing, and we're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. On Apple, we've had some haters that just didn't understand what affordable housing is. Sometimes they think it's a pure giveaway when we're just trying to help people just like my mom, who came over to the United States that didn't know any English and just needed a solid launching pad for her family. So thank you so much, everybody. If you guys didn't do this, my parents would never had a home, and I would never had a home I grew up. So thank you so much. Have an amazing weekend, and please DM me anytime you guys have any questions. Have an amazing Saturday. Talk to you guys again tomorrow.